I wanted to get straight into the big topic of the day, which is Sky's... Well, it's not the big topic. It's the one that's annoyed me the most today. That's probably the most honest way to discuss it. And I was reading Philip's comment in the chat saying, in fairness to Sky, if you watch us over the last 6 weeks, it's not beyond the realms of possibility. Well, let's question that narrative, because if you look at the form table in the Premier League from the last 10 games, so we remove our biases and our worries and put this aside, the Premier League table looks like this if you just went from the last 10 games. Liverpool still top it with 23 points from the last 30 available, so Liverpool would still be there. Next on the list, Crystal Palace, who have 22 points from a possible 30. Then come Arsenal, who have 19 points from their possible 30. Fulham 18, Newcastle 18, and City 17. So even looking at the last 10 games, Liverpool are still head and shoulders above everybody else. So don't let these feckers get in your head. Don't let the likes of Sky and others who are speaking about this being a poor league title or Liverpool cracking. We lost one game in the league in 26. It's been 26 games and since we lost. So yeah, it sucks that we lost. And yes, Fulham were a good side and we make mistakes, but it's silliness. And anything Liverpool put up a post as well. Premier League games lost when Man City have won the league title since 2018-2019. In 18-19, Manchester City lost 4 league games. In 2021, Manchester City lost 6 league games. In 21-22, Manchester City lost 3 league games. In 22-23, 5 league games. And in 23-24, 3 league games. And so far, with 7 to go, Liverpool have lost 2 league games. So any of these narratives are just being made for clicks, to drive anger, frustration, and to try and give other people hope. So don't let it get in your head. Yes, Liverpool have had a tough month. There's no denying that. Losing in the League Cup final, going out in the Champions League, and then losing that game were difficult. But let's keep it in context, and we won't be bottling any league titles. So don't let anybody get in your heads about that. Look at our next 2 games as well, by the way. So this weekend we've got West Ham coming up at home, and then we back that up the following week with a game against Leicester away, who are in all kinds of trouble. That should be 6 points for the Reds, and that will move us so close to that Premier League title. So there you go. I hope I've given you some context as to why this is all being blown out of proportion and people are starting to get worked up for no reason. We need to keep a calm head. We need to pull an Arne Slot in this situation. I do think our last 4 are very tough. Next 3 games are key, said Philip. Yeah, they are. Look, I'm not sitting here trying to say there won't be some difficult games coming up. Arsenal, Chelsea, Spurs, Brighton. Difficult enough games. But again, everybody works under this mad assumption that Arsenal are going to go and keep winning and keep winning. Well, look at the last 10 games. We've increased the gap over Arsenal by 4 points in the last 10. Not decreased it, not had a wobble, increased it by 4 points. They just want Arsenal to win the league, said Anthony. It definitely feels that way, mate. I mean, they've done a whole segment today on Arsenal and Liverpool, and the segment was titled, "Could Liverpool lose their grip on the Premier League title lead?" And then they brought up the games that both sides have to play. And it just feels like desperation. And I kind of understand it. They're a broadcaster. They show Premier League games. They want to keep the interest in it. And ironically, myself and Connor were discussing earlier on, and for us right now, it feels like a really quiet time of the season where interest around Liverpool seems to be a kind of minimum, because we're in this weird period where the league title will come, but until then we're just kind of going through the motions each week, and there's no other competitions to get excited about. It's a little bit too early to really get excited about transfers. So each day we try to bring you some fresh twists on stories as well to keep everybody up to date and entertained. Right, let's get stuck into some news though. So let's start with John Aldridge. I mentioned the headline in one of his pieces where Liverpool is risking becoming a laughing stock, and I hope players realise that. A little bit more from this, and one of the quotes in it is, "I wonder if teams and managers have got to grips with the way that Arne Slot plays. It's a possibility. He's not rotating much and knows the players more, but teams are mixing it up against us. They look fresh, are harder to predict, and we're struggling a little bit." I think there's some sense to what John Aldridge says there. And if you look at Marco Silva and the way that Jamie Carragher covered the fact that they were almost forcing Van Dijk onto his left foot when he was making clearances to make it more difficult and to try and close down the space. And if you look at the way Newcastle played against us and got after us, as well as Paris Saint-Germain in the Champions League, there does seem to have been a change to approach to how to play against us. The teams are now pressing us higher up the pitch and trying to condense us in. So we need to figure out a way around that. And this long ball nonsense isn't working for us. It's just turning over possession too quickly. So we need to figure all of that out as well. Jonesy Lad said, I'm sensing a proper performance at the weekend. Look, it's almost like a tailor-made game for us because we've played them twice this season. I think we averaged an aggregate score of 10-1 or something like that. There was a 5-1 and a 5-0. So you're hoping that this should be a game that Liverpool can take care of business relatively easy and then back that up with what should be a comfortable away win at Leicester. Jack said, average Premier League season, second place team just beat Madrid 3-0. I know, these are all common sense things, Jack, that most rational minded people would agree with you on. But that doesn't fit the narrative that others want to try and create. And I don't think like the likes of John Aldridge coming in with his comment that... where was it? I'll read this out to you again. That Liverpool are risking becoming a laughing stock if they don't do it. Don't let this conversation about not doing it seep in. Let's just get it done. Start that with a win against West Ham, back it up with a win against Leicester. If someone said at the start of the season that we'd win the league with the new manager, Arsenal and Villa maybe win the Champions League, and Forest Palace, FA Cup, Newcastle Carabao Cup, you'd have laughed at them. I would, Mike. And I'll add in a little bit more. And that Nottingham Forest would be a Champions League position, a very healthy Champions League position. I wouldn't have believed that one bit, mate. Like, that Nottingham Forest league scenario is so impressive. Like, you looked at people predicting them to get relegated last summer, and it wasn't a bad show. Like, you're not going to look back on that and think they were idiots. It was entirely possible. But the job that Nuno and those players have done this season is truly just impressive. And they deserve their place. Jason Irish Red said, I'm one of those who thought we would struggle for top 4 this season with a new manager and one signing. No, I thought we'd get top 4. My aim was to beat last season's points tally, but I never for 1 second, Jason, thought we'd win the league. I never. What's more impressive, Forest getting top 3 or Slot winning the league in his first season? I think it depends who you ask. I would say a lot of neutrals will probably say Forest. I'm a Liverpool fan and I'm going to say it was an equally big surprise for Arne Slot to be going to win the league in his first season. So, you know, I'll side with the Liverpool part of it, but they're both some incredibly impressive situations. So let's talk about Jurgen Klopp for a moment, because James Pearce of The Athletic confirmed today that Jurgen Klopp may well attend the final game of the season, which is against Crystal Palace, and that there is an open invitation from Arne Slot welcoming our former gaffer. And look, it'd be lovely if Kloppo was there. He did say he'd be in and around the city for the parade anyway, so keep your eyes peeled. If you're going to Anfield that day, you may spot a certain Jurgen Norbert Klopp in the stadium.